Welcome back to the Neo Marketing Podcast. On today's episode, we're going to turn into 5-year-olds.
Welcome to the Golden Group Neo Marketing Podcast, a bi-weekly discussion of modern business communication.
Kyle, how are you this morning?
Fantastic. Good to see you again today, Pritch.
Yeah, better to be seen than viewed, I always say. Right.
Show number 2 of the second
year.
Of the Neo Marketing Podcast.
Amazing.
I kind of promised we would do some new stuff. We really didn't change our setup very much.
Right.
I got my nice little
got your new plaque
here that says I'm a big deal.
That's all right.
We have
got
the
your
Ep54.
partner.
Our friend Felicite Moorman is there on page
nice
19
article.
of Ep54
Page
episode.
19, folks.
I got some new glasses.
Yeah. It's new.
There you go.
Right? I got some new hardware.
Terry at Eyes, etc. hooked me up with these great glasses.
I got some new hardware. So, it's cool. It's a new year.
So, let's get a new topic going.
So, because it's a new year and we want to go forward, we're going to go backward.
Well, sure. Explain that.
I will. It's like I said in the intro. We need to turn back into 5-year-olds.
I'm down with that.
What do 5-year-olds do that's so annoying to people most of the time?
Well, I could give you a long list.
Right.
They make noise. They're selfish.
Right.
They repeat themselves a lot.
Right.
They don't listen when you tell them things. They're not very logical. They're very emotional.
Right.
They want all the time.
They're authentic.
They are authentic, right?
Yeah.
They only know what's right in front of them.
They only know what they know. Right. But the other thing that they do that so annoys many people, many adults, is they're constantly asking questions.
Why?
Exactly.
Why?
And the question is why.
It's a great question to ask, though.
Absolutely. A couple sessions ago, a couple of podcasts ago, you turned me on to Simon Sinek.
Yep.
I'm not completely through his book, Start With Why, but it has made a major impact on me.
One of my top 3 of all time.
And I'd like to kind of drill down into that because as I'm reading through what he's presenting, the information he's presenting, I'm making connections.
Right.
And so I thought it might be worth an opportunity to talk about those connections and how I see them kind of coming together.
Very good.
I think the first thing is we should always be asking why.
Sure.
And it goes back to several things that we've said in these podcasts, and that is doing the same o doesn't always cut it.
Nope.
And so every once in a while, you got to say, why are we doing this?
Absolutely.
And if the answer you come back with is, because we've always done it that way.
Red flag.
Red flag, absolutely. So now you need to start asking some more questions about that. But I also think that the reason why gives you purpose, and that's what Simon Sinek is saying.
Yes.
Is that the companies that are able to market through why, understand what their mission is, what they're there for, and are much more successful in connecting with their audiences. To me,
which is the key today, is connection with your audience.
Absolutely. And to me, it makes a lot of sense because a receptionist can be considered just a receptionist, just answering the phone, but they are the first contact usually with the customer and potential client.
Absolutely.
If they understand why the organization exists, they can be much more effective in their job.
They can make or break.
They can make or break it, right? Exactly.
Too many times people have told me that their sales didn't go up even though they invested in marketing, therefore their marketing is faulty.
Right.
There's a lot of other things that could be
Absolutely.
faulty, including the receptionist.
And starting with the question why.
Right. Okay. Exactly. If you're not based in authenticity and value to begin with, then everything else that comes after that is going to go in the wrong direction.
Right. Exactly. I think Sinek makes a good connection between most companies doing it the wrong way, starting with the what.
Yes.
Okay.
The widget.
It's newer. It's faster. The example he used was the laundry detergent. For years, it was brighter brights and whiter whites, right? And then some innovative company decided to do a little bit more research and dug deeper. Now, people want laundry that smells fresh.
Yes.
And so it completely changes the way you approach the relationship with the consumer if you understand what their why is. It's not the what, it's the why.
And now there are laundry detergent brands that are based only on being organic, good for the
environmental
planet,
friendly.
Exactly.
Right.
Easier on your skin. Exactly. So
right.
They're paying attention to their consumer and trying to make a connection with them with the why.
Right, exactly. And if they're not continually asking themselves the why and getting the answer that they have to have,
Yes.
then they're just, as Sinek says, they're just manipulating and trying to get people to buy something on the what.
So where this breaks down and goes wrong, the beginning, when you're doing this, it's an internal conversation.
Yes.
It's not for anyone else to see. So you have to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Strengths and weaknesses, what you do well, what you don't, what your competitors do well. They all have strengths and weaknesses as well. And I find the companies that fail, the brands that fail, are the ones who can't have an honest conversation and say, there are things we are good at and things we are not good at.
Right.
And there are things we would like to do and that are part of our why, but don't connect with our audience, therefore aren't important. Because there's two parts of a conversation, right? Why are you doing it, and why do someone else care?
Why does somebody care? Right. Yeah, and you said a couple things that I want to come back to and kind of branch off of. If I can remember them. It's terrible.
I'll help you.
The mind is a terrible thing, and it must be stopped in our lifetime. You mentioned brand, and
Right.
this is one of the connections I see, at least the way I've always been taught about brand. It's not a logo. It's not a set of colors,
Deeper
a
than
palette
that.
chart. It's not about a tagline.
Those are brand elements.
If you're going to do brand right,
Yes.
you start with why.
You got to know who you are, what you do, and why someone would care about it, the why,
Yep.
in order to create the idea of what your company is and how it connects to your audience. Then
So-
you go from there down into the research and
How
your
do you-
SWOT and your positioning,
Right.
and then you get into execution, goals, and tactics, etc.
Right.
That's
exactly.
where you get, and
You
then
forgot strategy.
Right. Well,
Right.
that's a whole big mess
That's
of
in there.
way before you get into
Way
tactics.
before you get to
and then the
tactics.
tactics are where those brand elements, your logo, your cut line, your
Right.
color scheme,
Right.
your
Come into
messaging
play.
comes into play at the end, not at the beginning.
Right. But if you're doing brand right, it should represent who you are and why you exist, which is why I made that connection with Sinek, start with why. If you don't understand why you're doing something, why you exist, then your brand is going to be faulty from the very beginning.
Absolutely.
The other thing you said that I want to circle back on is that internal discussion, and that goes to culture.
Yes.
And culture for me starts with why.
Absolutely.
If you're not, if you've got a culture,
Anything else is faked.
absolutely. I'll go back. I'll use the Navy as an example. The USS Greenwood surfaced right underneath a Japanese trawler, killed a bunch of students and Japanese fishermen. And in the end, the Navy's report said the captain had created an atmosphere on the ship where nobody criticized him, nobody brought up problems. And there were several people on that
So they failed.
on that conning deck that saw things happening and didn't feel like they had the opportunity to say anything. And we know what happened, a tragedy. So
That's a pretty extreme case of surrounding yourself with yes men.
absolutely, or being so nasty that nobody wants to
Dictator.
ever. Yeah, a dictator. Absolutely. So that connection for me works really well. If
Certainly.
you don't understand the company or why you exist, right, then everything else you do from there is not going to live up to its fullest potential.
That's right.
And today, we know from the research, people want to know the why.
They absolutely do. They want to be connected. It's not enough to say, I need to buy this widget today, so I'm just going to go get the first one you see. It's how it used to be, right? You went to the grocery
Right.
store, there was one or two on the shelves because that's all
And
they
you
can
picked.
handle.
Right.
Right. Now you have so many options to find the exact thing you want.
Right.
So it goes deeper than features and benefits of the widget itself. It goes down to who's the company. Do I want to be associated with this company?
Right.
Do I want their brand on me?
Right.
Does it reflect who I am? Et cetera.
Absolutely.
And it's that depth is why the why of why the company exists and why the product or service happens is important to consumers.
Yep, absolutely. And it's about relationship.
Yes.
So back to connecting that, and you've heard me talk about PR, probably named incorrectly,
Right.
should be public relationships. And think about your own personal relationship. If you don't understand why you love your wife or your significant other, then you're going to have, as Bum Phillips would say, more trouble in a little bit.
That's right, because everything that comes after that doesn't make sense if you don't understand the beginning.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
a few episodes back, I redefined the term ROI.
Right?
As it used to be return on investment. I call it the reality of it all. I don't see any reason why you can't redefine PR.
Well, we're working on it.
Do that.
Absolutely.
I'd say you
We're
just
working
refined
on it.
PR right there.
Well, I hope so. I hope I'm opening people's eyes to the full spectrum of the public relations skill sets
Which
and
is
responsibilities.
part of our why.
Yes.
We're trying to open people up to thought processes and different ways of doing things so they can adapt to what they do, so they can become successful in what it is they're doing.
Well, and the name of the podcast, I think, perfectly illustrates that. It's the Neo Marketing Podcast.
That's right. It's a new way of doing marketing. It's still marketing. It's based in traditional ideas, best practices, but it's absolutely a new way of approaching, thinking about it, and executing on it in order to be successful in 2018, because being successful in 2010 won't do you any good because
Right.
we're not in 2010.
We're not in 2010 anymore. That's right. We're not in
or
Kansas anymore.
1950 or
Right.
1920.
Right. So over the course of this year, it's going to be my job in part, my responsibility in part, to help people expand their understanding of public relations. I am an educator after all.
There you go.
Right? And I realized that I became an educator long before I ever got into the hallowed halls.
Sure.
Because I'm trying to explain to my boss what is possible and what's not possible.
I'm sure the entire time you were in the Navy, that was part of the conversation,
Educator,
right?
absolutely.
You'd educate up and down
And
the
down.
process.
That's right, especially with the other staff weenies that I needed the information from, right? What do you need to know for, right? Anyway, so that's my mission. That's
Good.
my
I like
why. In part, there'll be other things that I'll want to discuss, as
Right.
I know you'll want to
For
as
sure.
well. But I think this is an opportunity for us to understand better how that particular discipline fits into the overall. And oh, by the way, there aren't lines anymore.
They're very, very, very
They're
blurry
very
to the point they're
blurry.
really not lines, right?
Right, exactly. So I hope in the process of that we can help folks, our listeners and viewers, understand a little bit better how everything is starting to come together.
Which dovetails perfectly into my why, because my why is challenging the system.
Yes.
It's forcing people out of old ways and into new ways of thinking in order so that they can be successful.
Neo marketing.
That's right. So my why, your why, they come together for another cohesive why as we talk with you guys
Yes.
about how you find your why and how you adapt it to what you're doing in your situation in order to make not only be successful, the definition of success you created for yourself.
Right.
Everyone has a different level of success, right? Whether it's a little bit of side money, make something for my family through being a billionaire, and everything in between, that's part of the why conversation. It's also part of your own success definition. And in 2018 and 2019 to 2020, you have more and more control as to what success is and looks like for you.
You certainly can if you're paying attention, if you're doing the right things. Right. Absolutely. I want to circle back to the intro.
Go for it.
I think it's really important for this is a simple question. Why? Right? It's not a simple question to answer.
It's a simple
you got to work
concept
at it.
and idea, but it is a difficult thing to get into the minutia of.
Yeah. Well, think about it. Go back to when you were in contact with a 5-year-old and they ask why.
Not the
and
5-year-old.
And you give them an answer and they go why, and you give them an answer and they go. They're making you drill down into the essence of what their inquiry is all about.
So, like you said, act like a 5-year-old.
Act like
and
a 5-year-old.
You can get to the base of
Get to
of
the
what
essence.
you're trying to do.
Absolutely.
I like it.
That's what we've got for you this week. Until next week, let us hear.
2 weeks.
Oh, wait, 2 weeks.
2
Sorry.
weeks.
Yep, exactly. We're in the new year.
We'll see you next month.
We'll see you next month. So until then, ciao.
Good luck.